I'm Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. On today's show, I'll welcome a pair of Cirque du Soleil performers, Acrobat Dustin Walston and Puppeteer Helen. They're in the cast of Toruk, The First Flight, a live touring theater performance based on the James Cameron film Avatar. Stick around, and if you see blue people wandering around your neighborhood in the coming months, please welcome the Na'vi. There are two cinematic sequels in production to the #1 box office film of all time, Avatar. There is an Avatar-based theme park. It's also coming to Disney World's... Let me start over again. I'm sorry. I can't even read my own words. There are two cinematic sequels in production to the #1 box office film of all time, Avatar. An Avatar-based theme park is also coming to Disney World's Animal Kingdom in 2017. But what if you can't wait that long to return to the land of the blue-skinned Na'vi? But even better, what if I told you that you could see the Na'vi live and in the flesh in your own city? Cirque du Soleil, the insanely acrobatic circus that travels from city to city with its own big top, is touring this year an all-new production spun off from Avatar called Toruk, The First Flight. And joining me to talk about the new show are two of its star performers, Acrobat Dustin Walston and Puppeteer Helen. Now, if you've never been to a Cirque du Soleil production, it is a mind-bending event that melds extraordinary human gymnastics, beautiful music, and stunning light shows. Now, in addition to the touring shows such as Toruk, there are also permanent Cirque du Soleil installations from Orlando to Las Vegas and beyond. Dustin Walston and Helen, welcome to Mr. Media.
Hello.
Oh, nice to see you guys. So I have to admit that I was sort of scratching my head when I heard that Cirque was doing a show based in the world of Avatar and the Na'vi. But the preview video that people can see at cirquedusoleil.com, it absolutely looks exquisite. Dustin, what can you tell us about the story and its connection to the Avatar universe?
Well, taking the movie in itself, they're related by character and things like that, but you do not have to know the movie verbatim to understand this one. This one happens many, many years before, and it takes the Na'vi, the basic Na'vi, and then branches off from there. There's other characters involved that you did not see in the show, a lot of new elements that kind of differentiate it from the show itself.
Is it the movie has a lot to do with the humans coming to the Na'vi world, which is where the Avatar idea comes from. This, I'm guessing, there are not humans in this. This is strictly a
no
Na'vi
humans
story.
At all. This happens far before the humans ever come to Pandora.
Very good. And Helen, you're a puppeteer in the show. Where and when do the puppets come in? How do the puppets fit in with the live action?
So you see them pretty much from early on in the piece right through to the end, and they're really important to the show because Pandora, if anyone knows the film, they'll know that Pandora is full of kind of creatures, flora and fauna that kind of interact with the Na'vi, kind of have a big impact on our storyline. So we're kind of puppeteering to bring those to life right from the beginning of the show right to the end.
And what would, if people have seen puppets in other live productions, I mean, Lion King used them, Avenue Q, where does this fit in that spectrum?
Kind of off those spectrums, really. I mean, these puppets are completely unique. They've been built specifically for this show. And I guess for most people, they're going to be a lot bigger than they've seen before. We're touring to arenas, so the piece in itself is kind of very large scale. So the puppets are very big, especially our star puppet, the Toruk, which it's huge and takes 6 of us to operate it. So that's pretty much bigger than most puppets people will have seen.
And I hate to peel behind the curtain, but I have to ask, will people see the puppeteers operating the puppets, or is it somehow done with stagecraft and we only see the puppets?
Yeah, no, we're very, very visible. The puppeteers are actually kind of cast as the spirit of Awa being Pandora's belief system. So we're kind of breathing life into the creatures. So you can see us. We're very present as kind of beings beside the puppets. And that actually kind of adds to it somehow, because we're not trying to hide behind anything. We're not trying to say these are real creatures. They're very clearly puppets, and you kind of see us operating, which kind of, I think, adds to the magic.
Well, and that's why I thought of Lion King, because in Lion King we see the puppeteers carrying the animals through, but you forget that they're there. You forget that the puppeteers are involved.
Yeah, that's kind of, for me, the magic of puppets is that you can see the puppeteer, in a lot of pieces, such as The Lion King. But when the puppets are puppeteered well, you kind of go, okay, there's the puppeteer, there's the puppet, and then you just get engaged with the puppet, and you forget that the puppeteer's there, and it becomes unimportant, unless you choose to focus on it. So you've kind of got that choice of where to look, I guess.
I just saw, I hadn't thought about this before, but I just saw a documentary with Triumph, the comic insult dog, and Robert Smigel, and it was interesting. It was on politics. I mean, it has nothing to do with Avatar except the puppet idea, but it was interesting to watch. It's very much guerrilla filmmaking, and you know that Triumph supposedly is the one talking to people and asking them questions, but at times you just see Robert Smigel, moving the mouth, and you see him, and clearly the voice is coming from him, but you don't care. All you focus on is the dog.
Exactly. And as I say, that's kind of, when puppetry's done well, you kind of just engage with the puppet, and you enjoy the fact that it's a trick, it's not a real thing, and that's kind of part of what kind of engages you and reels you in, I suppose.
And Dustin, tell me a little bit about your role in Toruk, and what you do, and how do you do it, and how much training went into that?
Well, I'm one of many avatars. We have many different clans. Each clan has a different personality or strength. We have warriors, we have regal, ancient avatars from different clans. The Amatakai are more the ones you saw from the movie. So they're the ones who are acrobatics and different skills. The training previous to all of our personal gymnastics experience came from the creation process, where we kind of started at ground zero and had to learn how we wanted the avatars to move. We used the movie, of course, as a reference, but even with clans that you didn't see in the movie, we had to also think of what's their motivation, what is their intention, Are they going to be very grounded or very light in the air? We have a clan that deals with the air and flying of the beast in the air. So they're going to have a different movement and a different purpose. So it was just taking all the acrobatic skills we already had and focusing it with their intention.
I think I've been to 2 or 3 Cirque shows, and I think part of what fascinates the audience is there's an air of dangerousness to the acrobatics. I mean, when you start doing the show, I'm sure you have great confidence in what you're doing now, but when you start the stunts and the acrobatics, do you worry about your safety?
Well, we didn't go full out right away. There's progressions, of course, so it's not like you tried the most daring thing right away first try. You do progressions like that. So in that sense, it's safe, and as you begin to go forward, you have a confidence in it. At this point, I'm completely confident with each aspect of the show. It's Cirque du Soleil makes sure it was very safe and very, put together, so the risk is minimized as much as possible.
So you're not doing Spider-Man on Broadway, right?
No.
Oh, those poor folks. Safety was not the issue there in those first months, I don't think. So what are some of the things, and either of you can answer this, what are some of the things that will really amaze, without giving away too much, but will amaze and delight both adults and children coming to see Toruk?
Well, I think what's kind of really interested me about the piece is that although it's not a piece specifically made for children, and adults adore it, children really are kind of drawn into it. They seem to follow the story really well. There's an innocence and a sense of adventure to the story that they seem to really engage with. And I've been really amazed at the reactions of some of the little ones. Even in a big arena, you can sometimes kind of hear at those key moments when key plot things are happening, smaller children kind of going, oh, it's really lovely. So I think you'll be surprised how much children will enjoy the piece.
And I have to agree completely. Sometimes you get caught up in thinking of yourself in the adult critique, like, are they liking it? Then you see the pure joy of a child, and it washes all of that away. And it's almost another reason you do it is you just see the look of a child, and they see something they can't even imagine. That makes it perfect. I could care less about a critique at that point.
Well, I'm going to mention here, if there's parents watching this and they're trying to imagine this, pause this show for a minute, go to CirqueDuSoleil.com and watch the video. and you'll have a very good sense of what we're talking about here. Now, then come back, okay? Come back and catch the end of the conversation. Do you guys now? Once the show is in rehearsals and you start, do you ever get an opportunity to actually see it happening? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the funniest thing. At this point, I have not seen the show.
Me neither.
I wish if I was to see this show, I'd have to get hurt. So we don't want to do that. But you're in it in the beginning phases, so we're still making many changes, and we haven't learned every other person's role. We're still in the beginning phases of just knowing ours, so we can't get swung out is where one person will get cast out of the show to be able to watch it and then go back in. So we're still polishing everything. So hopefully one day I get to see the show.
Yeah, I watched it on video, but I always hesitate to say hopefully I'll get to watch it. Quite happy that I've not.
The show opens in Miami, is that right?
Yes, it's premiering here this week.
Oh, so this is it. I mean, we're really right on top of it.
Yeah, we've had other cities, but this Thursday is the first day in Miami.
Got it. And how did you guys? I mean, let me ask you each personally. How did you each get to be in Cirque? I know, Helen, this is your first, and Dustin, I think you've done
my second Cirque show.
You did Chris Angel Believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're not allowed to answer practice. Okay, that's the only thing. Whatever else you may say, you cannot say practice. So, Helen, let me start with you. How did you get to join Cirque?
Sorry.
Thank you, folks. Good night.
I was working in and actually, in a lot of companies, there's moments where people are using puppets. You know, if you've not got enough cast members, puppets are a fantastic way to kind of add to your storyline. So I actually fell into puppetry because I met a puppeteer. I fell in love with a puppeteer. He made me a beautiful puppet, and then the love affair kind of disintegrated. Off he went. But the puppet stayed, and I stayed very much in love with the puppet. So I started using her in a few different shows, and then kind of started picking up other puppets, and there'd be moments in creation of pieces where people say, who wants to do this piece of puppet? Go, oh, me, I'll do it. And then it was kind of about 7 years ago when I suddenly went, oh, I've kind of changed into a puppeteer now, or at least that's kind of one strand of what I do. I still do acting, physical theatre, but kind of puppetry became really strong as part of my career. And then this show happened for me because I saw randomly on a kind of a Facebook group in the UK that were looking for puppeteers. And I obviously went, well, I must have a look at that. Looked at the breakdown, it looked fairly me. I submitted some material, did an audition, got offered a job, got very lucky.
That's amazing. Had you ever seen a Cirque show?
Yeah, I had. I'd seen a lot of stuff on video. I mean, everyone kind of, watches excerpts of Cirque shows for inspiration. So I'd seen a lot of that. And I saw Delirium years ago at the O2 in London. And
before we go to Dustin, tell me, how different is it to be a puppeteer in a live show like this that's touring and it's very intense versus being an actor on stage?
It's different in a lot of ways. I mean, puppeteering is kind of, it's a strange one because you always have to put the puppet first. The puppet performance that it's important. It's not you and your presence on stage. So that's a slightly different mindset that you're in to begin with. And I guess this show, for me, in contrast to a lot of other acting jobs I've done, it's just so physical. I mean, even the physical theatre pieces I've done before didn't take place in such huge spaces. So here we're kind of covering masses of space as part of our performance. So it's kind of a much more physical challenge than a lot of the stuff I've done before.
All right, and thank you. And Dustin, so you were in Chris Angel, and now you're doing this. How did you come to join Cirque in the first place?
Mine wasn't random at all. It was actually my path into gymnastics started from Cirque du Soleil when I used to show it on Bravo. I turned it on the channel one day and saw a Cirque show, and I looked at my mother and said, "Look at this! Like, look how incredible this is!" I said, "I want to do this," and at that point, I couldn't do anything. And that same day, I went out in the front yard and taught myself a back handspring and just took off from there. And Cirque for many years after that was such a focus of mine because of how inspiring it was and how technically amazing. So that was kind of my motivation to do on gymnastics. And I ended up going very well in gymnastics and went off to college and doing gymnastics in college. And then after I finished all of college, I was still very active, and I said, I'm going to go for it, and flew to Las Vegas for an audition and made it through a big process and got in the database. And so I moved there, and it took about 3 years of getting different jobs during entertainment. I actually had to move to Spain to expand my performance, and then finally got the call for Criss Angel in 2010. So it was fast and hurried, but it was always there. So to be able to perform in the company is a big personal accomplishment for a goal from so long ago.
Wow. And how different is being in Toruk from Criss Angel?
Oh, it's very different. Very different shows. One was magic. This one is an arena spectacular. So you can imagine the difference.
I thought you were going to say one was magic, one was magical.
Sure, yeah.
Very Doug Henning. Is it difficult to join? I guess, Helen, I want to ask you this. Is it difficult to join something like Cirque where you have not done it before? I'm guessing you probably come in not knowing anyone. Everyone must be fairly close from the time you spend together, the travel. Was it difficult to join the road production?
It's always difficult when you kind of join a new company. But you kind of get used to that in this field because you're so often going into a room full of people that you don't know, and you cast and kind of introducing yourself and getting to know people. And I guess the difference on this is kind of for me coming over from the UK, I sort of pitched up in Montreal, so I didn't know the city, didn't know the people, so that's kind of an extra challenge away from working in London. But everyone's so kind of welcoming, and everyone to a certain extent is in the same boat. I mean, some people knew each other from other shows or sort of had previous connections, but to a certain extent everyone's kind of making friends and everyone's kind of looking to find their place in the group. So, it's not so hard really once you're used to doing that. Generally.
And Dustin, what is a day in the life of a Cirque performer like? I mean, do you get to see any of the cities where you tour?
This is lucky because for the first 3 days we're in this city, we get a good, nice chunk to do as much in the city as we want to. And then we work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The only other option is like a big top show where they stay a month and a half in one city. They have much more time to really dig into the city. But as long as we go for it, we can see many more places because we're traveling every week, new spot.
Get to take in a little sun in Miami, perhaps, a little?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, good. All right, well, before we kind of wrap up, I want to ask, Helen, you have a role, this was very interesting, you have a role in Tim Burton's upcoming film, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I've read this book. It's a wonderful book. I know they did some filming here in the Tampa Bay area. Can you tell us anything about the role and filming?
Oh, well, I can only tell you a very little bit about the role. I play a baddie. It's going to be such a wonderful film. I mean, I've had some sneak previews of the kind of shots, and if anybody's been kind of looking online, there's some images available now that you can kind of see of the film and how it looks. And very much like our show, it's visually stunning. So I think cinematically, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And yeah, people have read the book. I know it's a fascinating, weird, wonderful book that's very, very suitable for Tim Burton. So, fingers crossed, it's going to be a great movie.
For people who haven't seen it, I'll just say that if you enjoyed the Harry Potter series or the
Lemony
Snicket, thank you. I'm a little out of age for this group, but it fits nicely into that type of story, and it's the beginning of it's a series, so enjoy. How long are each of you contracted for the show? Is this indefinite time? Do you have is it a 1 year thing? Well, how does that work?
Each artist is on a 1 year contract. So you do the 1 year and then you start over with negotiations or re-signing, or so it's 1 year to 1 year.
So they'll either kick us out in November or they'll keep us on.
Yep.
We get to see.
Good. Well, I hope you'll both get to stay on as long as you like.
Thank you.
I hope that'd be nice. And folks, listen, you can see Cirque du Soleil's latest show Toruk, the first flight, which comes out of the Avatar world, in cities across the United States and Canada throughout 2016. Go to cirquedusoleil.com for a complete touring schedule. You can also order. That's right. You can also order tickets online and all that kind of stuff. I imagine there's great toys for the kids at all the performances too. I would think that there'll be kids going just to get the toys. So parents, make sure you take extra money along because you'll be buying souvenirs. I should ask, either of you do you do Facebook or Twitter or any of that kind of thing? Can people find you?
Sure. They can find me at PinballWizard77 on Instagram.
Yeah, and if they look up Helen Day on social media, Helen Day actress, they'll pretty much get to me.
Very good. All right. Well, Dustin Walston, Helen Day, it was a delight to meet you both. I wish you a lot of luck with the production. I hope we'll get to talk to you again sometime. And thank you both for joining us in Mr. Media today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Turn your back on the deceiver. It's a bad idea to believe her. A bad idea to believe her. Turn up the stereo receiver. Turn up the stereo receiver.
Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience full of people who are really starting to annoy me with all the flipping, flopping, and flying across my living room in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida.